Pythagoras, best known for his Pythagorean theorem, was a mathematician, cosmologist, teacher, theologist, philosopher, and more. He's also developed a system for musical tuning that's still used today, has had an influence on the world of food science due to his theories on dietary restrictions, and was the very first person to divide the Earth into 5 different climate zones. The man did everything. And while it would be a joy to talk about the life of such an impressive man, sadly there's almost nothing about his life that can be known for certain. None of his work and writings, not a single one, have been preserved. Instead, all we know from Pythagoras comes from texts written by Aristotle or Plato, who have both been influenced by this legendary ancient philosopher. But despite the little documentation, enough has been preserved to make Pythagoras the legendary figure that he is today. Even without his books still with us, he's influenced and helped evolve a few of the most important fields of human knowledge. While we can only wonder what else he could have taught us had his work still been with us, here are 6 life lessons that we can say come from this impressive philosopher. Number 1. Appreciate music. Pythagoras says, "The highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not entertainment." While Pythagoras is mostly credited as an important mathematician and astronomer, he's also contributed greatly to the art that's known as music. One of his most important contributions to both the field of mathematics and music was his discovery that maths could translate to music, and the other way around. Legend has it that Pythagoras walked down the street past a blacksmith hammering away, and by listening to the sound of different hammers in a row, Pythagoras realized that the size of the tool mattered for the sound it would make. Thus, that which was musical was also mathematical. Thanks to Pythagoras, there is a musical tuning system appropriately named Pythagorean tuning that bases the ratio of intervals on the ratio 3:2. Pythagoras took this connection further in a theory named Musica Universalis, which claims that the movements of the celestial bodies, the moon, the sun, the planets, etc., move according to mathematical equations, and as a result, make a certain sound, or as Pythagoras calls it, music. This music is, of course, impossible for the human ear to hear. A possible theory to explain its inaudibility is the idea that, because this spherical music is a constant presence in our life since birth, it sounds just like silence to us. We've become used to it. And that sentiment explains exactly why Pythagoras thought music to be so very important. Nowadays, music is often merely a background sound, such as in the supermarket or while on hold on the phone. But as many people also know, music can be much more than that. It's a form of expression that's completely unique in its delivery and ability to make one feel. According to Pythagoras, music is good for the soul, like medicine is good for the body. Music can heal one's soul of pains and ailments. It can calm you when you're feeling stressed, excite you when you're feeling disappointed, motivate you when you're feeling lazy. When you feel indifferent or numb, music can suddenly make you cry. And when you're feeling depressed and down, music can so often be your guiding light back to happiness. Understanding this, Pythagoras realized that musical compositions could be made for specific purposes, to calm, excite, motivate, and make you feel specific things. Pythagoreans often lived a routine that started the day with listening to exciting, energizing music and ended it with listening to calming and relaxing music. In essence, a musical composition could be like a recipe for a medicine. Music is so powerful, in fact, that it can be used to persuade or manipulate other people's emotions. Think of how the music in movies can completely control how the audience feels during a certain scene. Whether it's romantic, sad, scary, or funny, think of how music is used in commercials and online advertisements. A positive application of this idea, then, is that you can manipulate yourself in a good way by using music. So, to summarize, music helps you in life in all sorts of ways. When you don't feel able to do something or move on from something, just think of the right music to get yourself out of that headspace. But in order for that to work, you shouldn't treat music carelessly and don't think of it merely as entertainment. It has to be truly listened to with all of one's attention, focused on it and truly appreciated. Close your eyes while you listen. Truly take the time. If you learn to truly appreciate music for what it is and what it can do, it can improve all aspects of your life. Number 2. Don't get stuck in the finite. Pythagoras advises us to despise all those things which, when liberated from the body, you will not want. One of Pythagoras' most famous beliefs is that of metempsychosis, or literally transmigration of souls. A more common name for it, however, is reincarnation. So this theory claims that every soul is immortal, and after death it enters into a new body. In other words, your body is temporary, but your soul is forever. While nowadays there's little record of how Pythagoras exactly thought this worked in practice, we do know the advice that stems from this theory. In Pythagoras' own words, or at least so we have to assume, reason is immortal, all else mortal. Pythagoras placed a clear emphasis of importance on all things that concerned the soul and clearly regarded all bodily things inferior. The reason for this is simple. Our soul, who has access to infinite knowledge and thoughts as a result of being immortal, has far more to offer than our body. And what's more, our body often distracts from our soul. Some people are so lost in chasing bodily thrills, such as money, experiences, tasty food, etc., that they don't spend any time thinking. I mean, of course everybody thinks, but some people's thoughts always remain on a surface level. What should I eat for dinner? Where should I travel to next? What movies are playing in the cinema right now? There are no broader thoughts around the world, the human condition, purpose, the meaning of joy, and so on. There's no deep use of reason. And it's those kinds of thoughts, according to Pythagoras, that are the most important. The problem with bodily sensations is that they're temporary and thus always dissatisfying. When the food is consumed or the experience is over, humans always crave more. We have to. Reason, however, is forever. Finding something deeper you believe in or something meaningful you often think about will permanently change your life. It gives you something permanent to carry with you and strive for a new lens to see the world through. One simple way to be more thoughtful about who you are as a person is to recount the day before you go to sleep. Ask yourself the following 3 questions every night. What have I done today? What haven't I done today but should have? Have I turned away from doing the right thing today? This way, you can grow and learn as a person by merely spending a minute each night to think. You'll find you'll go into the next day more prepared, more thoughtful, and more compassionate. This exercise also forces you to think about ought and should, and right and wrong. It will allow you to slowly start forming a meaningful theory on who you want to be and why. It allows you to find something permanent within yourself. To take this idea even further, Pythagoras would encourage you to actually take time to philosophize about life. Pythagoras was of the opinion that humans were made to observe the heavens. In other words, theorize about the world. He considered those who didn't slaves to money or ambition. Yes, even ambition in the finite things could be bad if it takes one's sole focus and deprives one of the time and energy to use reason. We need to take time to think about what we think life means, what we think human beings fundamentally are, what we think is morally just or unjust. These kinds of thoughts and theories, Pythagoras argues, are essential to living a good and happy life. The conclusions you draw will be eternally motivating and satisfying, even if you tweak them from time to time. In order to facilitate the kind of lifestyle that places focus on the soul instead of the body, Pythagorean followers would live together as a community, sharing all possessions and all tasks. As a result, there was no competition, chase of thrills, or room for bodily wants. All they did, and very successfully so, was think. Of course, there's no way or need to take it to such an extreme personally, but there is a case to be made for taking a bit of time every evening to think the day over, and taking a longer time every now and then to mentally let go of all that only concerns the body and the temporary, to take the time to sit down and truly consider what you would want, do, and think about if you were your soul alone. Number 3. Think before you speak and act. According to Pythagoras, in anger we should refrain both from speech and action. Thinking clearly with your brain is at its best when you don't let your body's desires and feelings take control. So, if you use your brain to think before you speak or act, you'll probably make better choices. One of Pythagoras' crucial rules for living was to avoid saying or doing things when you're really angry. It's challenging to control strong emotions like anger, but it's a valuable skill to learn. If you act primarily out of anger or other strong feelings, you'll likely wish you hadn't later on. When you're emotional, you don't really think about the risks or what might happen because of what you say or do. Pythagoras believed that it's better to think carefully about what you're going to say or do rather than doing things on the spur of the moment. He thought that being quiet and not doing anything could be very powerful. It shows that you can control yourself and think before you act. If you choose to speak or do something, you should think about whether it's really worth breaking the peaceful silence. Pythagoras believed that most of the time what you say or do isn't as valuable as the calm silence you give up for it. Indeed, he's often quoted as saying, "Either stay quiet or make sure your words are more valuable than silence." To follow this advice, you can start by recognizing when you're feeling particularly strong emotions and then making an effort to stay quiet and not do anything impulsive when those emotions are taking over. Here's a simple way to do it. Whenever you notice yourself feeling intense emotions, try to consciously think, "I am having an intense emotion." Maybe at first you can only do this after the emotions have passed, but with practice, you'll get better at recognizing them as they happen. Along with that first thought, tell yourself, "That's why I shouldn't say or do anything right now." By thinking this way, you let your rational thinking control your actions instead of your strong feelings. The emotions won't disappear, but you can choose to do something like taking a walk, sitting quietly, sleeping, or finding something to distract yourself with until the intense feeling calms down. Then, when you're calmer, you can think about what actions would be truly helpful. For example, imagine you recently bought something you really wanted, but the next day, your little brother tells you that he accidentally broke it. Your first reaction might be to get mad at him, but that won't help you get your thing back, and it won't make anyone feel better. Instead, you can try something else. When you start to feel really upset, take a break. Later, when you're calmer, talk to your brother calmly about what happened. Ask him how it got broken and if there should be a rule about not going into your room. Can it be fixed? Maybe you can turn fixing it into a project you can take on together. taking a moment of friction and turning it into an opportunity for growth. This kind of response is genuinely helpful. It makes everyone feel better and more relaxed. But to pull off this strategy, you have to be consciously aware of your emotions and take a break first. Number 4. Think for yourself. In the words of Pythagoras, do not take roads travelled by the public. Living a fulfilling life, according to Pythagoras, means avoiding the trap of blindly following the crowd. He believed that the majority tend to stick to norms and routines, lacking the inventiveness and creativity required to forge new paths. If you're seeking a novel way of living, a fresh solution to a new problem, or aiming to make a meaningful impact, you won't discover it in the well-trodden lanes of conformity. True innovation demands creativity and independent thinking. Pythagoras emphasized the importance of relying on your own mind and abilities. When you possess the power to govern your actions and thoughts rather than being swayed by public expectations, you become unshakable because you don't depend on external forces. Consider this scenario. Imagine someone whose life dream is to help others, and the prevailing notion is that the only or best way to achieve this is by becoming a doctor. Suddenly, your ability to attain your dream is contingent on numerous factors: access to the right education, finding a job, and possessing the requisite talents to become a doctor. If circumstances beyond your control, such as unavailability of a nearby medical school or financial constraints, block your path, your dream becomes unattainable. Pythagoras wouldn't discourage you from pursuing a medical career, but he'd urge you to have your own well-thought-out reasons for doing so. If you believe that becoming a doctor isn't possible or doesn't align with your individual aspirations, Pythagoras would encourage you to explore alternative ways of helping people. What do you personally find meaningful and helpful? Are there unmet needs in your community that you can address? Are there innovative, undiscovered ways to make a difference in the lives of others? By thinking independently and creatively, you'll realize that there's always a way forward if you're willing to delve deep into your boundless mind. While the public mindset may be limited, your mind is limitless. Number 5. Be gentle to those around you. To quote Pythagoras, "As long as man continues to be the ruthless destroyer of lower living beings, he will never know health or peace. For as long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other." One important rule that Pythagoreans live by is to be gentle to every soul around them, including animals, for they too, according to Pythagoras, have a soul like we do. In his own words, animals share with us the privilege of having a soul. As a result, some think he was a supporter of the veganist lifestyle. The treatment of animals is, according to Pythagoras, a representation of how we could treat our fellow men too. If we slaughter animals with no regard for their health, well-being, or experience of pain, then we don't really care about our fellow man either. A real gentle soul is gentle to every being with a soul. According to Pythagoras, being kind and respectful to those around you is not just a virtue, but something that's important to yourself as well. He was of the opinion that people who aren't gentle to others have no way of achieving a happy and free life. Gentle people are people that can and will be trusted by others, that will avoid the most conflict and fights, and get the most help. Being gentle is a universal charity that you will get back if you give it away. Being kind and respectful to others makes it easier for you to make friends and keep those friends. Friends are very important, according to Pythagoras. He talks about friends as important companions on your journey in life, and that they'll help you find the path to a happier life. If you ask friends for help or advice, you get advice from people who truly want the best for you. Or in other words, the most genuine and thought-out advice you can get. But it remains important to see your gentleness and respectfulness as a universal act. You have to act that way towards everyone, not just the people you're trying to befriend. They will notice that you act differently towards different people, and most likely distance themselves from you because of that. It'll give them an uncertain feeling around you, and rightfully so, because if you change your mind about them, you might start to treat them differently. Instead, try to show that you respect everyone around you, regardless of your personal opinion of them. Being able to remain friendly even to those you personally dislike shows a certain strength and control that will help you in all other areas of life as well. And aside from friends, it's once again important to note that another important consequence of being gentle to those around you is that you'll be someone who's well liked even by acquaintances or strangers. If you're ever in need, you can ask around and people will be happy to help you. And a friendly attitude and genuine smile every now and then can work as incredible motivation to work towards what you need or want. Moreover, you'll inspire people around you to act the same, towards you and perhaps even towards others in their life. In short, the ones best fit for a happy and free life are those that are gentle, and the more you learn to be gentle to those around you, the happier and more free you will feel. Number 6. Have self-respect. In our final quote from Pythagoras for this video, he says, "Above all things, respect yourself." One of the most important beings to be gentle to in your life is yourself. According to Pythagoras, you have to truly respect yourself. This doesn't just mean self-care. You have to have a strong sense of purpose and self-discipline. Pythagoreans lived their days by a very strict schedule that included many rituals and dietary restrictions. One of the most effective ways to practice self-respect is to practice self-control. Know what you want, figure out the most effective way to achieve it, and make sure not to act in any other ways. Self-control includes finding the energy to motivate yourself when you're not motivated, to think of the bigger picture and ignore the temporary setbacks or desires, to think before you speak and act so that you can do so in the most effective way, to not cave into others' attempt to convince you of something that you're unsure about, and to be gentle even when you don't feel like it. Moreover, self-control is best practiced by trying out a daily schedule or routine, and by learning to force yourself to sit down and think about something before you do it. Pythagoras even said that the oldest, shortest words, yes and no, are those which require the most thought. Because every time someone asks you something, you have to think of what reasons you'd be doing it for, and whether it's self-destructive. Self-respect is all about finding balance, knowing the difference between being a people-pleaser and being selfish, knowing the difference between being overworked and lazy, etc. You practice by experiencing, thinking, and reflecting. The person that's most important to treat well is yourself. Because if you learn to respect yourself, you can then apply all of Pythagoras' other lessons to your life as well. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out our full Philosophies for Life playlist, and for more videos to help you find success and happiness using beautiful philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.